Hello guys, welcome back to my channel Neat Dental Junction. So today we'll be discussing on the topic scalp. Just before we start, I just request you to please subscribe my channel so that you can see more videos. So let's start. Today we are talking about scalp. This is very important topic compare as in case of NEET as well as in theory exams for the first year. So as name suggests, scalp. When we break it, this forms SCALP, which signifies these things. With I say S. S means skin with hairs. Number 2 is that C, that is the connective tissue, also called as the superficial fascia with blood vessels. A is epicranial aponeurosis, also called as Galea aponeurotica, also called as deep fascia. L, loose connective tissue, and P is the pericranium. Before we proceed further, you must know the significance of these layers, why we are talking about them. So, when we start with the first layer, that is the skin. When I talk about skin, the importance of the skin, which is this first layer, is that it helps. First of all, the hair are attached over here. Number 2, number of sebaceous glands present over here are many. So, as number of sebaceous glands present over here are many, so there are more chances of sebaceous cyst present over here. So, this skin is adherent to the fascia, adjacent fascia. So, next thing we will talk about the superficial fascia. This superficial fascia, also called as connective tissue. There are many blood vessels, nerves on this layer present. This layer is dense, as well as wounds in this layer, if happens, they bleed profusely. Number 3 is the epicranial aponeurosis. This is the third one, epicranial aponeurosis. Epicranial aponeurosis, also known as Galea aponeurotica, also called as deep fascia. Present over here, you can see this layer I'm talking about. So what is the significance of this? When we talk about the Galea aponeurotica, one thing that comes to the mind is that occipitofrontalis muscle. Occipitofrontalis muscle, the significance of this muscle, this is the epicranial aponeurosis. When I talk about epicranial aponeurosis, the one thing that come in my mind is that occipitofrontalis. When I break occipitofrontalis, it forms two things, that is occipital belly as well as the occipital belly as well as the frontal belly. So you must know from where it originates and where it ends. When I talk about the occipital belly, as the name suggests, occipital, so it starts from the 2/3 part of the superior nuchal line. It is a small belly, as well as these are separate, and it is being supplied by the posterior auricular branch of facial nerve. So these are the 3 points that you need to remember when I talk about occipital belly. When I talk about the frontal one, the frontal belly. So the frontal belly, this is the belly that starts from the skin of upper eyelid and the forehead region, whereas it ends in the area of epicranial aponeurosis. This layer is comparatively larger as well as united. When I talk about the occipital belly, this is separated one, but when I talk about the frontal belly, it is kind of combined ones. It joins together, and this belly is being supplied by the temporal branch of facial nerve. When I talk about the frontal belly, so one question that comes in my mind, so which facial expression is shown by this belly? This is the question that comes in my mind. So the answer is the frontal belly, that is associated with the frontalis muscle. It helps in the horizontal wrinkling. So this is the significance of this belly. Now we come to the loose connective tissue layer. Loose connective tissue layer is an important one. Why I say this? Just because this is the dangerous area when I talk about the scalp. So this is the dangerous area of scalp. Why? You must know this why. Just because there are layers present over here, emissary veins pass from here. These emissary veins further goes to the intracranial dural venous sinuses with extracranial veins are there, and they finally, if any infection occur in this area, they spread in the intracranial venous sinuses. So this is the reason why this is called as the dangerous area. It is also termed as a safety layer of scalp. Why? Just because if any blood collect over here, so they can be easily traced out, it can be easily tracked out to the root of nose and the eyelid, causing the black eye in case of eye, as well as we can see it in the root of nose also. This is told to be safety layer just because as any compression of the brain is not seen when injury is here, compression of brain generally not seen, and the fluid, if injury occur, being collected over here, and it can be easily tracked just because it is having a straight track from the nose as well as eye, so we can track it. Next we called about the pericranium. So this is the last layer, P, that is the pericranium. This is the layer that is adherent but loosely lying except at the sutures. When I talk about suture, pericranium is not present over there. At the suture, sutural ligaments are present. So these were the layers of scalp. Then we talk about wounds of scalp gape. This is a question that generally teachers ask. So the answer is yes. When they gape, this is the second question that generally is being asked. That is the wounds of scalp gape when the epicranial aponeurosis is cut transversely. So when there is a transverse cut in the epicranial aponeurosis, the chance of gape, that is gap, occurs. So if you have been asked that do the wounds of scalp gape, the answer is yes, and why you know now. Next is the arterial as well as the nerve supply. For me it was so difficult, so here I am telling you how you can remember it. So how you can remember is just kind of, when I talk about in the front, you can remember from the area being associated. Let's talk about the arterial one first. So remember these two directly from ICA, that is internal carotid artery, and these three from ECA, that is external carotid artery. Just remember this first fundamental rule. Next, when I talk about this, I have to remember this. I can easily remember this, like from here it will be supratrochlear, and here from the orbit, if I remember, it is supraorbital artery. So both are supra, one is trochlear, other is orbital. Then remember this is ear present over here. So something in front is superficial temporal artery, in the posterior region posterior auricular. This is being supplied to temporal region, superficial temporal. Behind the ear is posterior auricular, and at the last, obviously occipital bone is present, so you can say occipital artery. So this is how you can remember. Just remember the area being associated, and it's easy go way, so you can remember it. Then we talk about the nerve. So these are a kind of, you may remember, like supratrochlear artery and supratrochlear nerve, supraorbital artery, supraorbital nerve. Now here, these are some branches. So the most commonly asked question over here is, what is the motor branch? So remember that temporal branch of facial nerve is the only one being motor over here in the anterior part. Whereas when I talk about the posterior part, it is the posterior auricular nerve being motor. So we were like, how to remember this? So remember supratrochlear, supraorbital, same, supratrochlear, supraorbital. Here is artery, here is nerve. Then here is zygomatic nerve, temporal branch of facial nerve, auricular temporal nerve. So zygomatic, remember the area being, when I just behind orbit I face zygomatic bone, so zygomatic or temporal nerve. After that the temporal will be supplied, temporal branch, and auricular temporal nerve. So these three you can remember like this from the area being associated. Now these posterior one, I remember is like, see, GAL. See, here is GA, greater auriculum, then greater occipital. So GA. Now PA, that is posterior auricular. So you can remember it's like GAPA. I remember like that, like GAPA. It is just like, sorry for the handwriting, GAPA. I remember like greater auricular, then posterior auricular. So this is GAPA. Then LO, that is lesser occipital, and 3 GAPA LO3. So this is how I remember GAPA LO3. So this is GA, greater auricular, PA, posterior auricular, GAPA, and LO3 is lesser occipital as well as third occipital nerve, and this is the greater occipital nerve. This is the way you can remember this. Again revising: supratrochlear, supraorbital nerve, zygomatical temporal, then temporal branch of facial nerve, that you need to remember just because it is being motor. Auriculotemporal, after that ear comes, then posterior part begins. So you may remember GAPA LO3. It is that greater auricular, posterior auricular. Posterior auricular being the motor branch over here. LO3 is lesser occipital and the third occipital nerve, and just remember the greater occipital nerve being added over here. So now this is a kind of critical part. You have to see this diagram seriously. Just only then you can remember this. So this is the cavernous sinus. Now this supratrochlear and supraorbital. We have talked about the branches, arterial as well as the nerve supply. So these, the nerve we talked about, as well as now we are going to talk about the venous drainage. So when they combine and form the angular vein. Angular vein, after that it goes straight, form the facial vein. So facial vein is being formed from this, combining supratrochlear, supraorbital, forming the angular vein, then facial vein. Finally this facial vein goes deep down, just see this, and it drains over here. What is this? This is the internal jugular vein. Okay? This is the anterior vein I talk about. Then take the nerves from here, that is the superior and inferior ophthalmic veins. This going directly to cavernous sinus. Then this cavernous sinus from here, see, this is the dangerous area of face when I talk about here. The dangerous area of face, from here there goes deep facial, as well as deep facial will go directly to this. This is a pterygoid plexus. From pterygoid plexus going straight forward, that is into the cavernous sinus. So this was the part 2. Now when you need to remember the third one, see, here comes the ear. In front of ear, this is just this superficial temporal. Then maxillary. Here's kind of this stem type thing form. The retromandibular vein specific. The retromandibular vein in front it is like superior, superficial temporal. Inside it is maxillary. When you come down, it divides into 2, anterior, posterior. Anterior is going to join with the facial one and drain into the internal jugular, whereas the posterior one is going to back and it is going to join with this one. This is actually the posterior auricular. The posterior auricular finally is going to form the external jugular and gonna drain in the subclavian vein. Again repeating the same from the starting. This is the whole scenario. See, when I talk about in the front, supratrochlear, supraorbital gonna combine, form angular. Angular going deep down, straight, form facial. Facial going deep down, gonna drain into the internal jugular. So this is the front part. Then these are the two superior and inferior ophthalmic veins straight going to cavernous. Then from this dangerous area of face, deep facial is going to enter into the pterygoid plexus. From pterygoid plexus going straight cavernous. Fine. So this is the emissary vein gonna help going above. When I talk on the posterior part, this is the ear. When you talk about ear, there is a here parotid present. So here is the retromandibular vein. When it goes up, it's superficial temporal. On the side, it's maxillary. Down type, it divides into two: anterior, posterior. Anterior going into internal jugular. Posterior is again gonna join with the second one, that is the posterior auricular. When it going to join the posterior auricular, it gonna form a Y. This is the external jugular now. External jugular finally gonna drain into the subclavian vein. So this is the whole scenario. Next, I'm going to talk about the dangerous area of face. Why I am correlating with this is just because I told you this right now. So this, the upper lip portion as well as the nasal, this is the dangerous area of face. Generally 5 marks question is being asked from this area, and sometimes MCQ is being asked what is the dangerous area, tell me the location. So this is the location. It is going to cover the upper lip, the subnasal part, a bit of nasal part, but not the lower lip. So this is the area. As I told you, the facial vein, deep facial vein, pterygoid venous plexus, emissary vein, cavernous sinus. This is the direct way. That is why it is being spread directly to the sinus, so called as dangerous area of face. See, here you can easily correlate. I told you this is the dangerous area of face, deep facial vein. This is the deep facial vein. This is the pterygoid plexus, emissary vein, cavernous sinus. So direct spread. That is why I told you that this is the dangerous area of face. See, deep facial vein, after the pterygoid venous plexus, emissary vein and cavernous sinus. So here we are covering. So before I end, I just request you, please like, share, subscribe my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you wish for any specific topic to be covered or any improvement required, you can share in the comment section. So thank you guys. Bye bye.